What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures chapter review. Today, guys, we're going to be going over Chapter 8 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG's manga, continuing off from the duel between Shoma and Light. I'm very excited to be getting into this chapter, and because this duel has been already weird from Chapter 7, so I'm excited to see what Chapter 8 is going to bring, so let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into it. So, what were my thoughts on this chapter? I enjoyed the chapter. This entire chapter was continuing off from where we left off in the last chapter, in the middle of Light's turn. They have a good field. Shoma already has got Phoenix on the field. He has Isidol, and he has Evoqua and Linkuriboh, while she has her own Linkuriboh and two Hurlin of Protection. She is in the middle of her battle phase when we start this turn. She uses the first one to go and attack Evoqua. Shoma tries to use Linkuriboh's effect, which if anyone had watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, we know Linkuriboh's effect. If you tribute it, the monster's attack points become 0. But she's able to stop this as she's able to use her effect of her perfection, where she can send a fairy monster from her hand to the graveyard to basically negate the activation and destroy the card. So she's able to destroy Linkuriboh, then goes and continues the thing stating that, but this is my date plan. As you remember from the last one, this is her date with Shoma, which I already thought was weird. And this is her whole motto during this entire duel, where she's like, either like, this is my date plan. This is not like going further later down in the duel. She does state a couple of times like, that's not my date plan. That's not part of the plan for this date. And then she would just go and start negating effects. So this was her whole concept during this duel. She goes and is able to destroy Evoqua. Then she uses the second one to destroy Isidol, and then enter turn. And I just love, this is where I'm actually starting to like her character. Like, she gets so crazy when she ends up going into her battle phase and she's actually attacking. But when she's just done, she's just like this most sweet, innocent girl. Like, she just smiles at the end and she's like, ends her turn. She's just all so happy about this. I really do like Light. I'm gonna be honest. I really do like her character. She's just a sweet girl. I like her a lot. But they end up making a comment. Strong makes a comment about the Hurlin deck, and this was a very weird interpretation of how she is. As she literally has a leash around Strong, which, if this ever gets actually like translated and stuff like this, because obviously this is just translated what it is, but like if the dub releases like a TCG Structures or something like that, I hope they don't change the name, but they do that. I feel like they might ruin this, because I believe they do censor stuff with the mangas. I could be wrong, but if this was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime and they showed something like this, immediate censor right there. So I think that's just a kind of funny interpretation about this. But he kind of mentioned something that's bad about her deck, or like a disadvantage when it comes to her deck, because even though she's able to have good negations on her field, her monsters are mid at most when it comes to pure attack points. That's why she didn't even go for God Phoenix, because that is the most powerful monster that Shoma has, and if she's able to destroy that, she would have a huge advantage, but she can't because of their pure attack points, so that kind of puts her at a disadvantage. And Dark makes a comment about this and is worried for his sister, of course. Then we go into Shoma's turn. He's kind of worried about this. He kind of plays a little bit safe this turn because he's worried that she would have Ava in her hand, and that would help her add another 2 fairy monsters to her hand, which then can be used to negate effects and stuff like that. So he doesn't want that to pop off and that end up being the case, because he wouldn't be able to do anything. So he tries to play this safe. He uses the effect of his Gemini Ablation, discards a card from his hand. So from his deck, he is able to add Evocator Chevalier. I couldn't say the name for a second for some reason. He's able to get that card, and normal summons a second Ronald as well. they go back into it. He uses his Ronald to attack the Link Kuriboh. She's able to use the effect. Ronald's attack points end up going down to 0, so he stops the attack with there. He uses Chevalier to attack the second Hurtling of protection, is able to deal damage, but before he can go into another attack, the duel is interrupted real quickly as Dark yells at her, and I remember reading this and I was so confused. I was so done after this point. It's like, how dare you kiss Tsukiko, which is her last name? Like, they take this like way too far. Like, I understand, like, the date thing is just like, maybe you can just interpret it like, you have like play dates and stuff like that. That's a girl thing. They normally have play dates. What do they like? I don't know. I just think of like shows like they have like tea parties and stuff like that. I don't know if people still do that anymore, but my sister used to actually have that. So yeah, I mean, I'm used to seeing that kind of stuff. But to go as far as to think that Shoma kissed, because obviously he didn't do that. He attacked with his Chevalier, and he's happy about being able to deal damage, even though it was 100 points. Then yells at him, and he goes like insane at this point, talking about responsibility, that it can't be the case. And then he thinks about the picture of him in a wedding gown and her in a wedding dress. Like, he's taking this way too far. Luckily, Strong is able to kind of keep it intact so that they continue the duel. He uses Gear Free to go and attack, but obviously she was waiting for the moment, because obviously the big problem with her deck, like I mentioned earlier, was that she needs to get rid of God Phoenix, and all she needed was Shoma to attack, as she uses Honest. Now, if anyone has watched Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, or even has played the card game, because it was used for a certain amount of time, Honest was a card that Judai used. It wasn't his card, it was Fujiwara Yusuke's card in Season 4. That was a Season 4 character, so if you never watched the sub, you never knew that character or knew of that. But she uses Honest. I was not expecting that. And I'm just going to say this. I love her deck, I'm going to say, because it just has a lot of throwbacks. We had earlier where she had Cyber Petite Angel in her deck, and this is just a little bit of a spoiler. She has Machine Angel Ritual in her deck. What? And I think, because when we get to, well, let me actually get to that, but he uses Honest. If you don't know Honest's effect, when a monster attacks your monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then you can target that monster that is attacking, and the monster that is battling with, your monster gains attack points equal to the monster it's battling with. So since God Phoenix has 3,000 attack points, he's able to get enough attack points to be able to get over that. It had 1,800 attack points. It gets to 48. 48 is stronger than 3,000, so he's able to deal 1,800 points of damage right there. Well, no, I think that's actually less. No, it's 1,800. Never mind. Excuse me for what I said. So she's able to stop that, but Shoma's confident now. He knows that she doesn't have Ever in her hand. He's able to, he goes into his second main phase, gets Link Kuriboh. Again, if people watch Brains, you know how Link Kuriboh works. If you tribute a level 1 monster, you can bring it back from the graveyard. So he's able to get back Link Kuriboh so that he can negate damage if it needed to be that case, even though, she has fairy type monsters, so that's not going to really work. He goes to his end turn, she goes into her turn, and there actually is a skip between this. When we see her turn, like when she starts her turn, we know she has terraforming, which I think anyone that's played the card game knows what terraforming is. It is a very simple effect of just adding a field spell to your hand. But she goes into her turn. The next page that we see, she already has a field. So off panel, I think that's what they're called, she does turns off of this. I think they shortened this because it would have been too long and they didn't want to do it to 3 chapters of just this duel, so they shortened it. If you want to know what happened during this, if you go to the very back page of it, and I might start leaving those in the description of my videos, like kind of explaining if something was not fully said, I would like have the turns on there. So like, because I want to start trying to simplify the duels a little bit, because it is a little bit more complicated. But if you want the full deep details of these effects, I can put those like turns in the description, because it talks about how she was using Cyber's Petite Angel, she was using the field spell, which we do see the field spell. It's Ritual Sanctuary, which is another reference, I believe. I think Asuka also used this card in her deck. Like, there's a lot of Asuka support in her deck, which I think is really cool that she is using a lot of GX cards. I loved GX watching it as a kid, and even to my age at this point where I'm at right now, and I still love GX. It's one of my favorite series. I love GX. So seeing all these GX references, I like. The differences from this, she still has the Hurlin of Protection on her field, but she also has Hurlin Miragius and her ritual monster, Hurlin of Ultimateness, basically her ace monster of a deck, and she doesn't battle this turn. She just basically builds a wall on her field, and now Shoma has a problem where he's not going to be able to get over Hurlin of Ultimateness because even if he summons God Phoenix Gearfried onto the field, it's going to have same attack points as a defense. And anyone that's played the game, you know, if your monster's attack is the same as the monster's defense, neither monster is destroyed and no one takes battle damage. So there's no point in attacking with it. But we do also like see her hand that she has two other monsters, fairy monsters in her hand. And when I read this, oh my god, I was so surprised when I see this. And I'm going to read it right now because she has Time Maiden in her hand, which if you guys don't know what Time Maiden is, it is a Time Lord support. Even says it in this, with its fourth effect, will let her bring out a Time Lord. She plays Time Lords in her decks. Are you kidding me? This is why I love this deck. It is so filled with references to the anime decks. If you guys don't remember, if you never watched season 5 of 5Ds, because that was never released in the dub as well, that was the deck that Zone, the main antagonist, might I add, used that deck in the anime. That was his deck, and she's playing Time Lord cards, which also another thing. And now I will say though, I've never read Arc 5. I just the Arc 5 manga, but I know this. The main antagonist, I think her name is Eve. I could be wrong on the name. I think they had the whole Adam and Eve concept of it. Again, I haven't read it, so if I'm wrong about it, I do apologize. But doesn't Eve play a Time Lord as well, the Synchro Time Lord monster? I'm pretty sure of that because she uses a Phantasm and a number monster. Number XX Utopic Infinity, I believe, was the other monster, like the Xyz monster she used. So maybe that's what it's more references, because Time Maiden, I believe, is a tuner monster. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost confident that it is. If I'm wrong, I do apologize on it. But she has the two fairies. She has the potential of summoning a Time Lord. Her hand looks pretty good right now. We go into Shoma's turn. He draws Instant Fusion, which I think is another reference to GX. I think GX did have Instant Fusion, which Instant Fusion, it lets you summon a level 6 or lower fusion monster from your deck. So it's a pretty good card. At the cost of 1,000 life points, I don't think it can attack and it gets destroyed. So I guess it's not actually that good. Why did I think it was really that good? I mean, it's good to get it out, and maybe you can use it for something else, but like, that depends on your situation. But this is where his entire strategy goes into play, as he activates Instant Fusion, trying to get Relinquished out onto the field, which, again, his deck also has a reference to the anime. Relinquished is used by Pegasus. So there's just a lot of anime references, and I absolutely love it. But she's able to activate the effect of discarding a fairy monster from her hand to activate the effect of Ultimateness, because they all have this effect. Then Shoma tries to activate Crossover, which would be able to take a Herald from her, probably a Herald of Ultimateness, because that's the biggest problem. She sends the other card to her hand to the graveyard, then goes for Living Fossil, which she knew he had in his hand, might I add, because these two already knew what was in their hands at this point. Well, Shoma didn't know. He knows this turn what she has in her hand, but she also knew what it was prior to that turn. So she knew he had Living Fossil, but she didn't realize that she ran out of cards in her hand. And I knew when he activated Crossover that Shoma was going to win this. I mean, I think it was kind of obvious. I didn't think Shoma was going to lose this anyways. I was shocked that he lost to Tendo, to be completely honest. But again, I'm in that mindset. He beat Dark, which was the strongest one, so I was not surprised that he was going to win this duel. But she has no more cards in his hand. His brother freaks out because he knows that she's in trouble. We have another time skip between this. He's able to get God Phoenix Gearfried back onto the field, gets Isidol onto the field. The second one, he link summons into that, and has Ib, the World Chalice, just to care. I hope I said that wrong. If I said that wrong, I completely apologize. I probably totally butchered that name. But just looking at that, he plays World Legacies, which if you have been playing the OCG and TCG, I'm pretty sure you guys know World's Legacy. It's one of the biggest archetypes, I feel like, because it has multiple different archetypes in it. You know, you got like Crusaders, you actually have like World Legacy, World like pieces, like there's World Sword, World Arm, World Shield, like they have these different things. Yeah, I said Crusader, you have Orcus, I believe Nightmare is a part of it, I could be wrong about that one, Mech Knights, I think there is another one. There's the World Chalice is technically a part of that. Guard Dragon is a part of it. Like there is quite a bit of archetypes that are a part of this, and he does use it as well. But before that, he goes into a link summon. He uses he uses Ib, Isidol, and the second Link Reba, which was link summon as well, to go into Link 4, and he gets his summoning chant. All stalwart bound with Starlight, link that light in this fight. They're so simple, but I love the simple ones, to be honest. Which obviously he's not used to doing this, so it makes sense. But he's able to get out Mech Knight Crusader Avaramax, which I think it might still be a popular card. It is an easy to summon Link 4 monster. I've seen it in Cyber's builds. It is a very easy Cyber's monster to get on the field. I really love the design of this monster as well. So it's cool that he summoned this monster. So he's able to use he's able to add a card with the effect of Ib, then activates the effect of World Legacy Monstrosity, which I believe is a synchro monster too. So apparently he synchro summons during this, and since he has a level 9 monster on the field, he is able to summon 2 monsters from his deck, and he summons World Legacy Guard Dragon Mardark and Nightmare Incarnation. I don't know why I said it like that. Nightmare Incarnation is the monster he summons onto the field. So this is what I was talking about. He has World Legacy monsters in his field, which is funny. He calls this a gear-free deck, but I feel like he uses like quite a bit of the World Legacy monsters. I feel like, I know this is like the first time we've seen it, but there's a lot of World Legacies. I thought this would be more of a World Legacy deck at this point. I thought that's, when I first saw these monsters, what he might originally went for, but whatever. But he goes in his turn and actually goes for an Xyz summon. I believe this is the first Xyz summon of this entire manga so far. He's able to summon Infiltrack Earth Slicer. It looked like one word, so Earth Slicer can be one word, but he's able to get an Xyz summon out in the field, which I think now we've gotten every summoning mechanic except for fusion. I don't remember seeing a fusion in this because Mathmex, used Synchronic Xyz. Strong only used Tribute Summoning with his deck, and she only used Rituals with a Link Summon in there as well. And potentially might have a Synchro Monster with a Time Lord Synchro Monster in it. So, it's kind of cool that we were able to see this. He goes in and sees summon, activates Infiltrax first effect. It's able to attach all of its Xyz materials to basically just wipe out her field. And now it comes in with another effect, as she's able to add 2 cards because he was able, I believe it was the Perfections effect, wasn't it? Where she's able to add 2 fairy monsters to her hand. Oh no, I think it was the other one. I think it was the small version, but whatever the case is. But she kind of gets happy at this because she mentions that there is another way that he could have done it by using, I believe it was Gearfried he was able to use, where he gonna just nuke the entire field anyway, but doing that as well, she would have never added cards to her hand. She would be completely empty, no cards on the field, no cards in her hand. She would be completely vulnerable, but he gave her 2 cards to that, and you just see her happy at this point, which I feel like Shoma didn't do that intentionally. We know Shoma would make a move just because he wants to summon a monster. We saw that during the Tendo duel where he was willing to let him use Max C's effect to basically be able to get Gearfried on there because he wanted to summon Gearfried. That was his ace monster. He wanted to summon it. And I feel like that was another case where he wanted to get his Xyz monster. But if this is the case and he purposely thought it would have been nice to give her 2 cards, really sweet on Shoma's part, but I don't think that's the case at all. He attacks with all of his monsters and she ends up losing the duel. Then you have Darkwiz overreacting. He's clapping for his sister because he thought it was a good duel. Shoma goes up to her to go and shake her hand. You know, being the guy, very good. Like, why can't I think of the word for a second? He's a good person basically, where he is willing to shake his hand. He doesn't brag about something. He has self-respect for his opponents. Is what I was meaning to say. But then, and you can probably see it from the thumbnail, she goes up to him and hugs him. And I thought this was such a sweet moment. I really will say that. Then she says, let's have a proper date next time. You have the brother overreacting to this again. In fact, you see the blood coming out of his mouth, which I don't even understand that whole concept. How does he get fake blood in his mouth? And I know that's just looking way too deep into it, but how does he do that? Obviously, he has to put the fake blood in his mouth to even do that. So what? Does he just have like these little... I think this would just be absolutely funny if they showed it. Like, say, like, in his pocket he had fake blood. He would just open it, just put it in his mouth, and just like... bleh, just like spit it all out on the floor, like if he would do when he was taking a duel. Like, that's another thing to do as well. Like, before the duel, he just like... I don't even know how the heck he's supposed to keep it and like say stuff if he keeps his fake blood in his mouth, unless he... that would okay, I'm not gonna go into that because that just sounds weird. I'll just mention it because I was gonna do it anyway. He basically just swallows the fake blood and then probably has good gag reflexes to kind of launch the blood out of his throat, but I don't want to think of that. That's just weird. Let me get off of that. That's not even a topic I don't want to even get into. But Strong also makes a comment. It's like, she's pretty straightforward about it. I mean, she's been pretty straightforward this entire duel. But Shoma says, yeah, let's duel again. Are you kidding me? This felt like a complete Rook moment right there. I'm going to be honest. I'm saying to that level because... the fact that this is a 13-year-old kid, might I add you. I am pretty sure 13-year-olds, and if they don't know what date means, I am really concerned. I am really concerned if a 13-year-old doesn't know what date means. Now, to be fair, she was saying date during the duel, and he might just be thinking that's not part of her duel plan, or whatever the case is. Like, he might think, like, date to her is basically dueling. So I'll make that, but... you don't just hug someone like that and say that and let's have a proper date next time. You don't normally do it like that. And that kind of concerned me with this kid, which obviously dueling is on his mind because when he says, dude, you don't know jack squat about girls. You know a lot about dueling, but that's not the case when it comes to girls. And he thinks that jack squat is a monster. I mean, I respect Shoma for loving the duel, but come on. This is a clear in the open that she's basically confessing her love to you. And, jeez. Even at the end, at the thing, there's like a little kanji at the bottom that says, hey, date me, which I'm glad they kind of translated that. And... I love the last comment. It's like, there's nothing but dueling inside your head. Like, that sums up Shoma in a heartbeat. But I really do like that. I'll just go over my thoughts on Light. I do like her character a lot. I will say, though, going forward, I hope that this whole love thing is not just the main strive. I don't care about romance. I think romance is good. I think it's fine if it's in there. But if that is just the only reason you duel, to me, it's just like, okay, you can do a little bit more than that. If you're just dueling because of your love for someone else, I feel like that's just kind of a dumb motivation. You should have more than that. But I think she'll have more than that. We're only 8 chapters into this, so I feel like there's going to be some more growth when it comes to her, besides just wanting to duel Shoma and basically date him at this point. Like, I think she's more open to it than Akiza was. And Akiza and Yusei ended up hooking up at the end of 5Ds. I think everyone knows about that. And she's more blunt about it. If this doesn't come into a situation like Yuma and Tori, they don't have to be flying to a different world. And I remember that corny joke from the dub when Tori says like she's Gagaga for Yuma. The dub, dude, the dub. But with that, that is going to be it of this. This is definitely a longer one to discuss, surprisingly enough. But hey, you kind of sometimes have one of those videos. I remember when I did the ranking video and that was an hour long, and I didn't even mean to do it an hour long. So, yep, that is going to be it, guys, for this chapter review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this chapter down below, and let me know what you guys think of Light. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of this character. Do you like her, or do you not really care for her? Or is she in the middle for you right now? Because this is the only duel we've seen of her, might I add. So, obviously, if you're mid with her, I completely understand. I've been enjoying her. I just hope that the dating concept with her character is not just the only thing that she has throughout the series. I hope she has a little bit more, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.